Jump scares! Who doesn't love them? Welcome to part 8 of the ongoing series looking at the do's and don'ts of horror and what makes a great horror game on this, the Overthinking Media channel, where we overthink all things anime, gaming, cinematic, entertaining, with the intent to start discussion on topics that may not matter, but are fun to think about. In the previous video, we looked at silence in horror and how to use it to give the player a better experience. If you haven't watched that video yet, you can hit the little eye up there to watch the entire playlist of the entire series so far. It makes the whole rest of the series make a lot more sense, so I recommend doing so. If not, it might not make much sense, but I think it's pretty good, so just check it out. And if you are up to date on all the videos and have watched all those, legitimately, thank you. It means a lot. I can't really put it into words. The fact that I'm able to make videos and you enjoy them. It's a weird feeling, but thank you for watching. Thank you for helping me make my dream that much closer to being real. It means more than I can put into words. So thank you. With that out of the way, let's dive into the actual video, where today we're discussing jump scares. The 7 different kinds there are, when to use them, when not to, where they fall, and what to avoid when using them. Despite the fact that there seems to be this consensus on the internet that jump scares are an easy out and that game devs just put them in the game to make the game scary, I don't think that's true. I think when correctly implemented, jump scares can be amazing. I don't think they're inherently bad. Yes, when implemented poorly, they do drag the game down. However, that is not on the fault of the jump scare, that is on the game developer putting it in. But that's true of almost everything in life. If you're not willing to put the time in to make something great, the outcome won't be the best it could have been. Same with jump scares. If you're not willing to put the time in to make an effective jump scare, the overall jump scare at the end will be less effective. However, depending on what kind of jump scare it is, depends on how great it is. And I believe there are 7 different categories of jump scares that the vast majority of jump scares fall into. These being 1. Cheap jump scares, 2. Formulaic jump scares, 3. Anticipatory jump scares, 4. Chance jump scares, 5. Predictive jump scares, and 6. Misdirective jump scares. Cheap jump scares are just the jump scares that are there to freak the player out. There's no rhyme or reason for when they happen, they just pop out to scare you. They're freaky, they're scary, and they just give you that quick shot of adrenaline. Unlike the rest of jump scares, these ones, there was no way of predicting them. They were just there, you couldn't have seen them coming, they just popped up out of nowhere. While these sorts of scares do have their place in horror, and when used sparingly can be effective, if the game only ever relies on one type of jump scare, the player quickly comes to learn what that jump scare is. And if it's cheap jump scares, the player quickly learns that a jump scare could happen for any reason at any time without warning. Because of this, instead of enjoying the game, being ready for a scare, the player just spends the entire game annoyed because they know at any moment something could jump out for no reason and freak them out. On top of that, if a game solely relies on cheap jump scares, chances are they're using the same audio and the same image, which over time very quickly becomes ineffective. Of course, when the game first starts and that image pops up and the audio blares, the first response is okay, that got me. Freaked out. Whew, that was scary. Okay, cool, right. But then as the game goes on and you keep playing, that jump scare comes back and you go, got me again. Right, yeah, okay, cool, right. But then, unfortunately, by using the same jump scare, very quickly the jump scare goes like this. Oh, God damn it, scare. Okay, cool, right, you're moving on. And a bit later. Yeah, that won't help my ear. Damn it. Because the more you use the same jump scare, the less effective it becomes. And if there's no actual threat in the game, the player knows that. So no matter how many times you scare them, there's no danger. So you can just throw up a jump scare. Like, yep, okay, cool. And they keep going, because the threat stops being effective. Also, I want to take this moment to say that just because I call them cheap jump scares, I don't think they're inherently cheap. As I said a minute ago, when used correctly and when used sparingly, they can be very effective. However, the reason I call them cheap jump scares is because they're very easy to make and mass produce in a game, therefore cheap. Yes, they can be bad when overused, just like I said. However, I consider them like a spice. You shouldn't over-flavor a meal. When used sparingly, these scares are quite good, and overall can help enrich your playing experience. 2. Formulaic jump scares. These are the jump scares that you come to know. These are the jump scares where if X, then Y. Whenever this certain event happens, this jump scare will happen. While these can be quite scary the first few times they happen, very quickly you come to learn what the X is and very quickly they kind of stop being as scary as they used to be because you know what's going to trigger them. You know when you walk into that room there's going to be a jump scare. You know when you open that chest there's going to be a jump scare. You know when you press the button there's going to be a jump scare. Five Nights at Freddy's 2 is a good example of this. You know once the music box runs out, the puppet will lunge at you. Whether or not it stays scary in the long run varies from person to person, but overall, eventually the scare stops being effective. You know once the music box runs out, the puppet's going to jump out at you. You know that. You see the puppet. Okay, puppet. Restart level. Of course, when it first starts, puppet. Okay, moving on. Might need to change my pants. But no, the 7th, 10th, 11th time when it happens, puppet. God damn, I was so close to 6 AM. 3. Anticipatory jump scares. These are the jump scares you know are going to happen before they even happen. It's the long dark corridor with a single light at the end. It's the empty room that you've just walked into. It's the chest in the middle of the room with no enemies about. Going back to what I talked about earlier, Never Ending Nightmare does this amazingly with the doors. You know a jump scare is coming, you're just not sure when it's coming. And that's great. The difference between formulaic jump scares and anticipatory jump scares is anticipatory jump scares aren't tied to one certain event. They're almost always in a different situation. Despite this, you still know they're coming. Or at least, you think you know they're coming. However, due to the oversaturation of horror genre, so many games use the same tropes that, to an extent, you've seen all these tropes before. Even if they're anticipatory, you know what's going to happen. Because of this, anticipatory jump scares can, in the wider genre just as a whole, can almost be considered formulaic, which kind of sucks. I don't think this is the fault of the game though. Not individually, it's more there are only so many tropes in the world to go around, and some games will overlap. And the good ones will definitely overlap because everyone loves these scares, so everyone uses them. I don't think we should blame the game though. When done in an individual game on its own, I believe anticipatory jump scares are great. This is because they get the adrenaline running before anything happens. When you walk into that long corridor, you know there's going to be a jump scare at the end, or at least you know there's going to be, definitely going to be one, right? But before you can get to that door, boom boom, 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 boom. Oh, nothing. The reason I believe anticipatory jump scares work so well is because you know there's going to be a jump scare. It is confirmed. You know there's going to be a jump scare. You're just not sure when or where it's going to come from. You open the door and walk into that corridor, and you know there's going to be a jump scare. The music has quieted, the lights have gone down, the player's breathing. Has suddenly become audible. And you can't run all of a sudden. You're walking down this corridor, and you know there's going to be a jump scare, because everything's falling into place. Before the jump scare happens, as you're walking down that corridor, boom boom, 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 jump scare. That was a good jump scare. That worked. That was good. But you're not sure where it was. As you walk down the corridor, you know there's going to be a jump scare, but you're not sure when. So you're on edge. Step forward. Step forward. Step forward again. Another step. Another step. Another step. Another step. Another step. And there's the jump scare. It's great. It builds up the adrenaline beforehand, and when used correctly, is great. Of course, with all things in video games, when overused, you come to learn the formula, and they become formulaic. However, when used sparingly and correctly, are great. 4. Chance jump scares. I'm talking a lot more about this later on in the series, so I'll just briefly cover this now, but chance jump scares are the jump scares where there could be a jump scare at any time. Like, it seems like there's going to be one, but you're not entirely sure. There could be, though. It's the dead body laying still in a zombie game as you walk past it. It might lunge out and attack you and scare you. However, it might also be dead and just stay there. Or maybe it won't lunge out at you this time, but as you walk past it again, then it will. But you're not entirely sure. So as you see the body, you just kind of pull your gun out probably. Do I waste the bullet? Do I take the risk? I've only got 7 bullets left. I couldn't. So you just kind of, you prep yourself and you walk past the body. Make sure you have a gun on it, of course, but as you walk past it, either it will jump out at you or it won't. But you're not sure until it happens. While formulaic jump scares are if X, then Y, chance jump scares are if A, then B or C. Formulaic jump scares, if a zombie is slumped over and you walk past it, it will jump out at you. Chance jump scares, if the zombie is slumped over and you walk past it, it might jump out at you. However, you don't know until after the event. Schrodinger's jump scare, if you will. A game that does this amazingly well is Dead Space, with how many necromorphs are just littered across the space station on the floor. You're never sure which ones are dead and which ones are going to jump up. It's great. I love it. It's a good use of jump scares. 5. Predictive jump scares. These are the jump scares where it's obvious the game's going to try and jump scare you. However, doesn't. It's the slightly open door that you as the player have to walk up to, twist the handle, the music starts building up. You open the door. Oh, nothing. There was no monster there. It's the dead body laying slumped over with a key item you need right between its legs. And as you approach it, you know it's going to jump out at you. You go to pick up the key item. You're ready to sprint backwards. You pick up the key item and nothing at all. Oh, he just... Yeah, he's dead. Give it a good kick. Yeah, that body ain't moving. I got the key item. Sweet. It's the opening a door to walk into a pitch black room. And as you start walking through the room, the door behind you slams shut. And you're left in the dark, with only the door on the other side of the room, with a single light that you need to advance towards. But you know something's in the room, right? You know there's something here. So you start walking through the room a lot slower all of a sudden. If you have a weapon, maybe you draw it. As you get closer to the door, with every step, you're predicting one. You know there's going to be a jump scare. You know there's going to be one, right? Okay, it's going to be when I touch the door. It's going to be a few steps beforehand. You step, you got 5 steps to go. 4 steps to go. 3 steps to go. 2 steps to go. 1 step to go. You have to put your weapon away to open the door. You put the weapon away. Open the door and... Oh, no scare. The player builds up all this fear in themselves, only for nothing to actually happen. The game didn't have to do anything. It was all on the player. 6. Misdirective jump scares. Much like predictive jump scares, these are the jump scares where you know there's going to be a jump scare. However, in the case of misdirected jump scares, it's not the one you foresee. So you end up bracing yourself at the wrong time, and by the time you relax, then the jump scare happens. As you approach where you think the jump scare is going to be, you start getting a bit tense. You hold your breath, you approach the location, you trigger the event, and nothing happens. Oh, so you let out a breath of relaxation. You feel relief. You don't feel tense anymore, and you turn around and that's where the jump scare was. That's when it gets you, because the game catches you off guard with one that you weren't expecting. To use our previous examples, let's use the door. As you walk up to the door, you know there's going to be a jump scare. The music is building up. You walk up to the door. Open it! Oh, and there's nothing. Music built up for nothing. You close the door, you lock it, You go to walk away, and something bangs into the door as hard as it can. Good thing you shut the door now. Good thing it's locked, because that wasn't shut. That would have got in. Whew, that got me. That got me, I'll tell you that. That scared me. Okay, right, moving on. You keep going into the game. Or in the case of the dead body, you walk into the room and you see that slumped over body with the key item you need in the middle of its legs. I've played horror games before, I know what's going to happen here. You draw your gun out. Okay, let's do this. You go up to the body, you pick up the keys and... Oh, nothing's going to happen. Cool, so you just relax, you put your gun away. Well, it's a good thing they avoided that jump scare, it's so overused. Cool, so you go to walk away, you got the key item. As you go to leave the room, you look back at the location, suddenly the body's gone. Or even another way of doing it, as you go to leave the room, you look back at the body, and what was once slumped over, dead, is suddenly staring right at you. Doesn't have to be loud, doesn't have to be aggressive, doesn't have to be blah, in your face to be a good jump scare. It's subtle, but it gets that scare in your body. You weren't expecting it. It's like a dead body, right, got the item, move away. Look back, it's looking at me. Or even a third way of doing it. Once you pick up the key item from the body, you pull out your gun, make sure it's not going to move. Nope, nothing. You put your gun away. It was a cheap jump scare. I didn't fall for it. I guess I was expecting a jump scare, but whatever. So as you go to walk away, you have to walk past this pillar that obscures your vision. You can look back at the body, but you don't have to. But as you walk past, it obscures your vision. As you look back, body's gone. Huh. But you don't have to look back, so you can literally just walk past the pillar and keep walking, not even realise the body is gone. You get to the door, you go to open it. You go to open it. You go to open it and it's locked. Try again just in case. You check your inventory. Do I have a key item? Can I use that? Nope, nothing. Okay, cool. Huh, weird. So you turn around and it's right there in your face. Doesn't make a noise. Doesn't scream. Doesn't at you. It's just standing there, right behind you. The entire time. Just inches away from your face. And as you turn around, right there! He's like, pull the gun, pop it in the head. God damn it! You feel your heartbeat, boom, 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 boom. The adrenaline's all running. Didn't need to be big and scary. Didn't need to be loud audio. Didn't need to be flashing lights. Just right there in your face, silently staring, silently standing there. If you can't tell, these are my favourite kind of jump scares. Well, maybe second favourite. But the problem with this is, despite how great these jump scares are, if the game only relies on them, the player quickly learns that, okay, first jump scare is a fake out, next one is the actual scare. They come to predict them. They become formulaic. They know, if A, then fake B, then C. Because of this, the jump scares just stop being effective. Which is such a shame, because these, personally, I think are some of the best jump scares. I think they're great. Sadly, a lot of games fall back on the trope of jump scares, not because they want to create a momentarily scary moment, but because they're easy to do. Because of this, in most cases, they base their entire game around one kind of jump scare. Instead of using a blend of the different kinds to truly create a spicy meal, they just fill it with one spice. And it gets bland, because it stops being enjoyable for the player. Now, that isn't to say I think jump scares are inherently bad. I think I've proven by how much I love misdirected jump scares. However, I do believe there are several games out there that use jump scares as a lazy out to try and make a game scary without having to put any effort in to actually make a scary environment. They can just go BAM! Scare. BAM! Scare. BAM! Scare. Doesn't have to be good, just BAM! Scare. But of course, when used correctly, I think jump scares massively improve the game and overall create a new level of horror. And yes, I am aware I said 7 types of jump scares and I've only listed 6. Trust me, the 7th one is coming. It's a jump scare. Nah, it's coming later on in the series. I need to talk about a lot more of stuff before I talk about that one though, to make a lot more sense of it. So it will come, just not yet. Also, I really think it should be a gaming sin to misuse jump scares, because they are great when used correctly and when used sparingly and when properly implemented. They are amazing. However, they're just overused. The majority of games that use jump scares nowadays fall into category 1 of cheap jump scares. Sure, they might use formulaic or chance jump scares every so often. However, for the most part, they just rely on cheap jump scares, which overall drags the game down. Because they believe just by throwing something in your face to scare you in that moment, it makes the game scary. But does it really? The reason they use them is because it's such an easy mechanic to use. All you gotta do is find any image at all, crank up the audio 20%, maybe invert the image colors so it's scarier, and then at any moment in the game, just follow from the screen to scare the player, because that makes the game scary. No. And it can literally be a picture of anything. Flowers, books, games consoles, kittens, puppies, babies. Actually no, babies can be quite scary when used in horror, so actually yeah, babies can be quite good jump scares. I know, lollipops, kangaroos, zebras, I'm just listing animals now. Anything could be a jump scare if you just crank up the audio and just throw it in your face. But it caught you off guard, which is the whole point. Just scare the player. So, what's the takeaway from this video? For the actual player, it would be, despite the fact that for the most part people believe there's only one type of jump scare, there are in fact several different kinds, and when used correctly, are great and make a game better. And just because the game relies on jump scares doesn't mean it's bad. It's if a game cheaply relies on jump scares and isn't willing to put in the work to make the game actually scary. Despite the fact that jump scares are often boiled down to one kind of jump scare, that isn't true. There are in fact several different kinds of jump scares, and when used correctly and properly implemented, make an enjoyable experience. Just because a game has jump scares in doesn't mean it's scary, and just because a scary game uses jump scares doesn't mean it's cheap. If a jump scare is used in a horror game correctly, it's great. If a game is using jump scares just to scare you because they can't think of anything better to do, it's not so great. If you want to make a game using jump scares as a core mechanic, go right ahead. When used correctly, it's great. However, when using jump scares, be sure to use a blend of all 7 different kinds, because otherwise the player comes to know what kind of jump scares you're going to do. They understand how the game works. Everything becomes formulaic. However, by acting a mix of all of them, the player has no idea and is always kept on their toes. As well as being aware that making a game based around jump scares as a core mechanic is already an oversaturated market that has thousands of games, so you need to make something that make your game unique and stand out from all the other games that may or may not have just used jump scares as an easy out to make the game scary, and in doing so misunderstood how to correctly use them effectively. However, while they can be used very effectively when implemented correctly, there are several games out there that just poorly implement them for no reason and use them incorrectly, which in the long run makes them ineffective, which is what we're looking at next time in this series. So if you want to watch that video as soon as it goes live, you know what to do. Hit the subscribe button and ring that bell to make sure you're notified as soon as my videos goes live. And if you are enjoying this series, hitting a like massively helps, as it helps appease the algorithm, it helps boost the channel, it helps me know what my audience wants to watch. And it also just makes me feel good, because I've enjoyed making this video, and if you've enjoyed it, then tell me you've enjoyed it, because I like making this content. I like talking to people about this sort of stuff. It's what I enjoy. And hey, let's start a discussion in the comment section below, because that'll help the algorithm. Plus, that is the whole point of this series. That's the whole point of all my videos. They're to start a discussion on fun things that may not change the world, but are fun to think about. I like thinking about horror games. What do you like thinking about? There we go. Let's start a discussion on that. What do you like to talk about? Where did you come from? Like, where were you recommended this video? That's always fun to know. Where was my video recommended? Because I'm curious where these are coming from. I want to know. Where did you come from? What was the previous video you watched? Was it recommended to you? Was it the next play video? Was it just scrolling? Yeah, I'll click on that. Was it on the homepage? I want to know where you came from, because I'm curious about that. I love that sort of stuff. And hey, if you really like my videos and want to help support the channel, head over to my Patreon and consider becoming a patron. Depending on the tiers, there's some awesome rewards depending on what you pledge. And hey, I'm going to put the bloopers from this video in that on one of those tiers, because this has been a blooper-filled episode. So many flub-ups. So yeah, if you want to see that, head over to my Patreon, consider becoming a patron and get to see the content, as well as some fun other rewards for depending on what tier you're on. With all that out of the way, do you agree with my points? Do you disagree? Let me know in the comment section below and let's start the discussion on that. I want to start a conversation with all of you. And today's random conversation starter: do you think we're alone in the universe? And if not, what do you think the aliens look like? Until next time, see ya.